Susan Auma Mangeni, PS Micro, Small and Medium Enterprise Development, Professor Sister Jacinta Adhiambo, DVC Academics, Brother Jonas Chineku, Director, Institute for Social Transformation, Vincent Otieno Diambo, Regional Director, Ashoka, East Africa, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed. Good afternoon. As mentioned, my name is Philip Lopokoyiot. I'm the CEO at ICEA Lion Group, and I am truly honored to be in this 6th annual Africa Conference on social entrepreneurship. I was speaking earlier to Brother Jonas, and he was assuring me that over the last 2 days, this has been a very engaging and interactive session. And we truly look forward to some of those outcomes that are relevant for us Africans living in the continent. I want to begin on behalf of the ICEA Lion Group. We're really delighted to be gold sponsors for this event. As a context, this conference and some of the discussions that have taken place and the theme of systems change, transformative social innovations, is just a reminder of how rapidly the world is changing. And I was just looking up what's defined as transformative social innovations, and I don't know if professors might have a different definition, but I just picked up what is recognized, that it's about new ideas, new products, new services or processes that lead to significant changes in society. And again, these innovations themselves have the potential to create a more sustainable and equitable society. And this is really going to speak to some of what I'm just going to touch base on, and I'm going to try to keep it at a higher level. But I was looking through some of the themes that have been circulated earlier, and to see to which extent are the touch points that ICEA Lion Group as a private sector player contributes quite a bit. And I was able to highlight a few, namely funding and climate change, and I'll just tell you a little bit about that, and also market agriculture and food security. Now, that doesn't mean that in the others we were not interacting with. I've just decided to pick those two. Certainly, with respect to human capital, capacity building, inclusion and diversity, as well as legal and policy frameworks, those themes that you've got across here, there are things that touch points that we touch quite regularly. And as I just make a few comments on these, they kind of provide some good backdrop to what I call our ESG agenda. And I think many of you will know that: environmental, social, and governance. And ICEA Lion has had a long connection with the ESG agenda. And I'll just give you some of those touch points. Firstly, we are represented in what's called the PSI, which is the Principles for Sustainable Insurance, which is a global body which I sit on behalf of the organization. And again, this kind of agenda really takes place there. We also have the Leadership Council on the UNEP FI, which I also sit on that on behalf of the company, and which I represent. We're one of three that represent African voices. And then on a corporate level, we have something that we co-created with UNEP FI, which is called the Nairobi Declaration of Sustainable Insurance. And we began it with about 8 signatories, and now we're over 100 signatories across 23 countries in Africa. And I think, we also sign on something called a Global Compact Network, where we seek to support various initiatives which very much speak to some of what we've been discussing over the last 2 days. And I think what, and this is what also appeals to us in terms of the topic today and the discussions that you've had, because of our context and history with respect to some of the outcomes that come through from transforming social innovations. The transforming social innovations, linking it with environmental, social and governance, largely speaks to the S, the social element to it, but it also covers the environmental and the governance. And this is important that we continue having voices with respect to ESG, because in particular when they come to African voices, because it's only Africans who should really would really benefit by addressing and getting solutions to African challenges. And this in turn is really going to improve the resilience of the continent which we all live. So just looking at some of the social aspects of ESG, and again, very much speaking to the same topics that we're discussing. We know that the health and safety is taken into account, human rights, customer and product responsibility, and as a business, we take our corporate citizenship in this respect seriously, move it beyond the rhetoric and actually walk the talk in terms of what we do with our staff, what we do with our communities, in order to build that network that's necessary for the ESG agenda. Again, if you look at risk management as insurers, and looking through the whole value chain, our role really from a financial risk management means that we are very closely related or connected to sustainable development challenges, and some of these which are really strike home, like climate change, biodiversity loss, and we are in touch with, for example, some of what is happening on the mangrove forests down on the coast, other ecosystem degradation, and it's not just here in Kenya, it's also right across Africa, and it means that this really is close to enhancing sustainable development challenges, and as we engage on some of these topics, I'm reminded of the definition of what is sustainable development, which was done by the Brundtland Commission, and I'm sure you're all familiar with that. And that really means, meeting the needs of the present generations without compromising the needs of the future generations. And I want to say that sustainable development, from where I see, is indeed an outcome of transformative social innovations. So just explaining a little bit about the history and how some of the initiatives that ICEA Lion has taken in terms of supporting that. I mentioned earlier about the Nairobi Declaration for Sustainable Insurance. And this was launched, we launched an initiative in COP27, where the leadership of the Nairobi Declaration put up a proposal to set up what we're calling the Africa Climate Risk Facility. This facility has got a target amount of about $1 billion, and it's looking to provide insurable cover of $14 billion, and to cover 1.4 billion people in Africa against what we define as uninsurable risks. So these are things like drought, floods, cyclone, and it's really meant to support the vulnerable people. That is meant to be in place by 2030, and we're currently in negotiations with certain development partners to put this in place, and we hope that within a year or so, we'll have this up and running across Africa. It will be available to the people who've signed on to those signatories, and as of today, we're talking about covering 23 countries within Africa. And I think by working together with partners, and we had earlier how important it is to reach out and build on partnerships, but by working together with partnerships within globally, internationally, and also with sovereign governments, we're really looking to make a big difference to the impact of climate change globally in Africa, and certainly look forward to explaining more of this as it evolves into the future. I just also want to state that there are other elements of transformative social innovations like renewable energy, and those are some of the things that we as a business continue to pursue. This include geothermal, and I know, for example, that from a social entrepreneurship at an individual level, that opportunity might not be as big as it is, but in particular, in building together a network to build corporates, and as a leader in geothermal underwriting, which is, by the way, is something that is coming through for the first time in Kenya, the underwriting of it locally. We're looking to really de-risk what we call early stage geothermal exploration, and that in itself is going to increase the opportunities for renewable energy in Kenya and beyond. So I just want to say about, what are some of the lessons that in our journey on ESG that we've picked up. A couple. Firstly, that we need more voices, and it's really good to participate in this conference where I can see that a lot of the touch points that we're talking about and collaboration and partnerships are really right high up in the radar. So getting more voices with respect to that. So we need more African voices in this conversation. There's also what we say, lack of knowledge and awareness on some of the key issues, and it's forums such as this, which are beamed to as many people as possible, that continue to provide that opportunity for people to understand better what the current issues are. And then also, sometimes because of reasons with respect to lack of resources, people look at things more from a short-term basis as opposed to on a long-term basis. So that in itself sometimes compromises the quality of the solutions that exist or have been prescribed for that. So that's something that we really need to look at going forward, and I'm sharing that as something that even this conference here can borrow with pride. So the ESG element, what does it mean for social entrepreneurs, such as those who may be here or who may be following this online? In terms of what we've experienced so far, We've been engaged in co-creating products, co-creating solutions, and I think that I had some of that earlier on. And for some of the risks that look to materialize, we don't really have specific products in the market. And I mentioned to you earlier on about geothermal. We're looking to launch products such as, in fact, it's literally been launched a couple of weeks ago, environmental impairment, liability, and a couple of others that are currently online. And I think this just shows our appetite to look for those solutions that will de-risk some of the challenges that are there in the market, but also at the same time enable sustainable development. So I just want to emphasize that the importance of public-private partnerships and Honorable PS, I'm sure that there'll be opportunities for us. I whispered to you about an opportunity that I'll hopefully come and talk to you, which is in your field, that we can look for opportunities to co-create solutions, because some of these initiatives actually require the government to help us, whether it is in terms of legislation or in terms of creating an enabling environment. So supportive government policies go a long way, and I'm pleased that you're able to come to this session as well, so that we can continue to work together to build the country as well as achieve our goals. So I would encourage the social entrepreneurs here to continue to pursue partnerships through private sectors, through the government. There are funds that are available. You can name it, whether it's a climate change or adaptation solutions, and those all fit overall on the ESG agenda. And also, I think they'll play a great role, a leap in terms of transformative social innovation. So I just want to say that if we continue to collaborate and act together in concert, I believe that we'll fully achieve some of the goals, not only that have been set in this conference, but also our own social entrepreneurship goals, as well as government goals and private sector goals. So those are the remarks that I just wanted to share, and I really just want to wish all participants here well as we continue to collaborate for the resilience of our continent, our country, and our communities. Thank you very much. Thank you for being a great audience. Thank you.
You're welcome. We have with us Honorable Ms. Susan Auma, Principal Secretary, State Department for Micro, Small, and Medium Enterprise Development.
Yeah, thank you so much. Great people, led by our good friend, the ICEA Lion Executive Director, who I understand to be one of the biggest or the largest sponsor of the event. Are you? Yeah, and Dr. Jonas, the other name is difficult. I love to pronounce it. The director for the Institute for Social Transformation. Vincent Otieno Odhiambo, Regional Director, Ashoka East Africa, and all protocols observed. Good evening. Yes, so first of all, let me begin by thanking the organizers for this very impactful event that brings us together to do a bit of conversation and engaging and trying to see how we can together find solutions that can solve a lot of myriad challenges that we have as a continent. But before I do that, Dr. Jonas, or rather I see you're being called Brother Jonas, we are never busy. So it's not a privilege, you know. It's a right to be here, right? So I want you to take it like it's our responsibility to be here, to engage. So anytime, if you call upon us, even if you don't call upon us, and we know you are here, we will come. We will come, and more so from people from my ecosystem, the State Department of MSME will come, because we exist to engage with you people, we exist to work with you people, we exist to look for solutions that can help us solve our problems. The concept of social entrepreneurship is not a new concept, but it's also a concept that most of the time is misunderstood. But I want to think aloud that if there is any sort of entrepreneurship that is supposed to happen in Africa, that is, if it's not happening, then it has to be social entrepreneurship. Because why? Beyond just making profit, we have a responsibility to bring about solutions, to create impact in our lives and in the lives of our people in the continent. Right now, before I read the speech, you know I have to read the speech and hand it over to you. But allow me just to say a few remarks before I read the speech. And you know, we are supposed to read these speeches because a lot of efforts have gone into them. So, yeah, as a protocol and formality, we have to read and leave it to the organizer. But let me say this, MSME State Department. This is the first time in this country that you are having a whole State Department being devoted to help grow and increase the productivity, the competitiveness, and the profitability of micro, small, and medium enterprises in this country. We all know, that MSME are the backbone of our economy. However, we have really unexploited opportunity. A few weeks ago, I was somewhere in some other parts of the world where sometimes it snows, sometimes, you know, that kind of weather. And I was seated with a good friend of mine who happens to be from this continent. And we're just having tea and sharing. I was saying, I'm imagining if we had this kind of climatic condition, we in Africa, in our continent, how will we have managed? And I told that friend of mine that the God we serve can never give you challenges that you can never solve. Isn't it? So when you saw God never, gave us those snow and all those harsh climate, he knew we didn't have capacity. But again, that's to mean that all the problems that we are having in Africa can be solved. So whenever you see those problems that you're having, those challenges that you keep on having, underlining beneath those challenges, there is always opportunity. There is always solution to solve the problem. If you see people talking about the high poverty levels, the level of vulnerability in Africa that we have, just look beyond them. There are opportunities of solving those problems. So from an entrepreneurship perspective, those problems are your business ideas, isn't it? So if you are a social entrepreneur, you look at those problems and the solution you have, the ideas you have about solving that problems becomes your social enterprise. So in other words, we are a continent that is full of opportunity. And right now, when everybody across this world start talking about sustainable development goals, how can we achieve them? The only way to achieve them is to change their approach, to change how we perceive development in Africa, start perceiving Africa not as a continent of problems, but as a continent of opportunity. Whenever you're doing financing proposal for Africa, let them be informed by opportunities which are in Africa, but not of those problems that we have in Africa. When you urge us here that we need to collaborate, you can never collaborate around problems. You only collaborate around opportunities, isn't it? When they tell us we need to see how we prosper so that we share in that prosperity, you can never prosper if each one of us are not bringing something on the table. We can never have shared prosperity. So in those corridors where this conversation are taking place, what we say is that time has come where you have to start looking at Africa as a partner, but from the point of view of the massive resources that we have, natural resources, very hardworking people that we have, people who are daring, people who are go-getter, people who can move the mountain, as opposed to a continent where people are sleeping hungry, because even when we sleep hungry, don't we know what we need to do? We know. So in other words, you start investing in enablers that can help unlock the opportunities that are surrounding the continent. Having said that, there is a principle in the now development world that say leave no one behind. Now, leaving no one behind means we got to appreciate that each and every corner of this world has got some economic potential. And each and every individual, including even street families in an urban setting like this, has got an economic value. So everybody has got a value. So as actors, as government, as everybody here, our work is to see how do we support this person? How do we enable these places? Places wherever they are, they can be regional physical spaces, they can be age spaces like our young people, they can be demographic like gender. How do we, enable them to exploit economic value from those spaces? Having said that, the reason why His Excellency the President probably thought it wise to come up with this State Department was so that we can work with you. We can work with you because for the longest time possible, for the longest time in this country, we had very many people doing things that nobody knew. You people, I'm sure this is the sixth ACOSE annual conference you're having. But if I say that I knew that it existed, I'll be lying. I never knew. India, I only knew about it a few days ago when I met one of your partner here in my office. But we needed to have a platform where we can all converge and appreciate what is it that you're doing? What is it that the private sector is doing? What is it that the development partners are doing? What are our priorities as the national government? So that we can read and act from one script and take this country forward. So the reason why I exist is to coordinate all focus on MSME, growth and development. We bring everybody on the table. You have very good ideas. Innovators here who are young people, sometimes they do not even know that financing opportunity exists. They do not even know that there is a market somewhere. So if we have a platform where everybody can know what is happening and leverage, collaborate like you put it, leverage on each other's efforts, then we will start quantifying our impact. Otherwise, this silo mentality approach has to stop. This is what we've been having for the last so many years. People are doing massive things. People are investing. Development partners are investing. But when you go now to a grassroots, you ask yourself, how come the level of poverty has always been stubborn? It's never coming down. It is because we don't create opportunities to leveraging on what somebody else is doing. We end up duplicating our efforts. We end up spending resources in a manner that we cannot count. So we exist to align all actors to this focus on MSME, but also to let you know that even if you don't reach out, we will reach out to you. We are that arm of the government that is concerned with private sector development. So if you are a private sector, because if you are a social entrepreneur, partly you're a private sector. You need those profits to impact on people's lives, Indio. Or are you entrepreneurs for grants? How do you achieve sustainability then? But you're doing business knowing that you're solving a particular social problem. And Kenya requires social entrepreneurs more than anybody who are focused on helping us solving a particular problem. The government has gone further and identified key priority value chains, which we think in the next couple of years, next 5 years, next 10 years, if all of us looked around and mapped out opportunities, enterprise opportunities which are there, we are going to help create jobs, we are going to generate revenue, we are going to increase our exports, we are going also to realize industrialization across this country. Most of these value chains are in agriculture. We're now focusing on dairy, and I'm sure we come from areas where we are doing dairy. We want to invest to make sure we increase production. I know many people here have been able to see a few things being exhibited there as was coming in. But anytime we talk about entrepreneurs and MSMEs, people think they don't categorize farmers as entrepreneurs. We have not enterprise or farming. So what I'm telling you, we have opportunity to be even, you can be a social entrepreneur also in dairy farming. You will increase milk productivity and will make sure that our children that we are giving birth to, they don't, end up missing milk. See, you'll also be solving a problem, food security in a way, while also earning income. So looking at dairy, there's a huge market outside there in the region and in the continent. We are looking at leather value chain. We have massive opportunities, especially in counties that, do well in animal rearing. And by the way, we are number 4 in Africa in terms of rearing animal. And we are very good beef eaters. I think we must be number 1 in the continent. A Kenyan can eat a full mbuzi. Am I lying? Isn't that true? Yeah, we hammer these things. But what happened, at some point we fail to understand where those skins and heights, disappear. Nobody has seen a business out of it. So we end up again, for those people who have so many private sector that have invested in tanneries, but they don't have raw materials. So they keep on even importing things that we'll be doing ourselves. We have opportunities for edible oil. Edible oil in this country is the second largest import. When you people are complaining about high inflation, it's high inflation because of over-reliance on importing the basic commodities. So edible oil is number 2 after petroleum. But the interesting thing is that the edible oil crops and nuts, these are things that are our traditional crops, value chains. So it's a question of how do you people as social entrepreneurs help us to mobilize those women, to mobilize those farmers, youth, put them in places. We give them financing. You will connect them to the market. We can get people to invest in their machines for value addition. and will earn income out of that. That will help us to reduce the importation and will manage this the issue of inflation that we are now severely experiencing. We're looking at rice production. Again, we have many areas in this country where we can do rice. Unfortunately, just a few months ago, we had to import rice and import maize. So we live where the river is, but you still come to Nairobi to look for a job. You know, instead of looking for, somebody to give you a few resources, which you are going also, I'm going to tell you how you will get it, and then turn that land around the river into rice farm. You'll earn more. As you look for a job here, you're also earning your income. So there are massive opportunities that are there. We are looking at building and construction, value chain. You see, our president is really committed in ensuring that we provide affordable housing in the major urban centers. In fact, even today, he has done groundbreaking of another project of affordable housing. So what do we want to achieve here? This will provide us an opportunity to bring or to employ our TVET graduates, but at the same time is also going to provide us an opportunity for Jua Kali people and artisans to supply building materials. Then we're looking at tea and cotton. You know, these have been our traditional value chain. Sadly enough, we have lost that competitiveness. If you go outside there, like especially in Europe, you ask for tea, you can't even feel it. The kind of tea that is there has blended and reblended. It has even lost that taste of Kericho tea. Why is that happening? Is because you have not invested in value addition. You've seen what is happening in coffee plantation. Most of our farmers are uprooting coffee plantation in favor of real estate. And you know we are still agricultural economy. So we need to address those market failures, those gaps that are there. Because one time, they usually say that the real estate balloon will burst. So if we are not generating revenue to invest in those real estate and we keep on, committing arable land into real estate, then we are looking into a future that is not so pleasant. So the government has to come in and put in some renewed focus in correcting that, to ensuring that our farmers for tea, for coffee, can get competitive prices for their produces and are encouraged. Lastly, we're looking at textile and garments. And textile and garments, we have massive opportunity. Unfortunately, we have a problem with the production, the low production, the lack of raw materials. We keep on, negotiating the AGOA agreement to supply to the US market. But one of the conditions is that we must make sure that the textile we supply there must be from locally, raw material. But if we don't grow cotton, where are we going to get that? So because of that, the government has come in, this current administration is really focusing on those key value chains. In other words, I was happy when the lady launched the first baby. I said it was the first baby of Africa Academic Hub. And one of the point that really ignited that excitement in me was the aspect of research. So this is going to be very critical to enable us see how we can collaborate and research on opportunities that are available and then inform our population. Social entrepreneurs, you can pick on that. So we are not going to discriminate you from, our engagement. We go to work with you, and in that kind of partnership with the baby which you launched today, the first baby, I'm also there. Whether you like it or not, I'm there. Is it? The MSME is also there so that we can move together. So, lastly, ladies and gentlemen, allow me now, as protocol requires, to read this page. So, I'm delighted to join you this evening to address the 6th annual Africa Conference on Social Entrepreneurship, whose aim is to foster multi-sectoral collaboration for innovation and economic resilience for the African continent's long-term growth. At the outset, allow me to appreciate the organizers of this event for bringing together key actors in the change maker movement and providing a platform for sharing tools and frameworks, learning and appreciating the successful strides being made by social innovators across various fields. The conference is happening at an opportune moment when government in the region, and Kenya in particular, are putting a lot of efforts towards promoting sustainable economy, creating jobs opportunities, and hope for the future of its citizens. Indeed, social entrepreneurship remains a key driver in unlocking the systemic and cultural challenges faced by communities arising from social barriers such as poverty and gender inequality. Despite the critical nature of social entrepreneurship, as demonstrated through this conference, social innovators continue to face major challenges, key among them being lack of adequate funding to support their ventures. Over time, some ventures flourish, but a vast majority of the ventures struggle to maintain their existence and sustainability due to lack of capital or ongoing sources of income. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleased to share with you today that the government of Kenya, under the leadership of His Excellency President Dr. William Samoei Ruto, remains committed to undertake more policy interventions which seek to address societal challenges faced more so by the vulnerable and underserved in the community, i.e. women, youth, and persons with disability. The renewed policy intervention by the Kenya Kwanza administration will provide communities with capacity to create sustainable, decent jobs and ensure equitable distribution of wealth among the population. Such an intervention is the Hustler Fund. You've heard about Hustler Fund, right? The Financial Inclusion Fund. And let me today just put it on record that the Financial Inclusion Fund, which is known as the Hustler Fund, first is not in any competition with any actor, especially the private sector. This intervention came about to correct two market failures. The first market failure was the fact that majority of the Kenyan population who are at the bottom of the economic pyramid were locked out of the economy due to barriers such as inability to access financing. These are the people who are informal, these are the people who are unbanked, who are unserved by any network. I appreciated there was a speaker who raised that issue, that if you are not in these networks, then you may not also get these opportunities to learn and collaborate. Sadly enough, the people who are unserved and at the bottom of the economic pyramid are the majority and are close to 70% of this population. You can never preside over an economic growth of any country if majority of the people are locked out of the economic participation. So through Hustler Fund and the demonstration that through digital technology and digital innovation, we can be able to enable access to finance to people in every corner of this country, people probably who could be limited in terms of social capital or network, in itself is a demonstration of our willingness as the government to crowdsourcing as many people as possible to participate in our economy and also to ease the burden at the top. Right now, you see there are a lot of conversation around taxation and all that, those is happening because there are very few people at the top who are working, unfortunately, whom we have to depend to. And because, for example, the basic sectors like education, like health, they have to thrive. So for them to thrive and to be funded, we people at the top, then we have to bear the brunt. But one way of doing that is to open up the economic space so that we have as many people as possible participating in. And to do that is to try and break the financial access barrier. And that's one market failure that the Hustler Fund is addressing. The second market failure that the Hustler Fund is correcting is that because of the pandemic, and which I know most social entrepreneurs really suffered, many people went under. Many people have found themselves in debt. And in this country, close to 6 million Kenyans had been listed in CRB. Once you are listed in CRB negatively, you are discredited. Your chances of ever getting credit becomes very much minimal. And even if today you are delisted, it will take you some time. That negative listing will still follow you up wherever you go to ask for credit. So because of that, the government had to come in. You can imagine an economy where 6 million entrepreneurs, 6 million MSMEs are locked out. It's only government which can correct. Correct by rehabilitating their negative credit score, seeing how we can make them positive. So the first thing that Hustler Fund we did was to bring together all the players. We brought telcos and all other actors, banks, commercial banks, who had experience in digital lending, and told them we may be a poor country, but one of the things that we have innovated outside there and the world appreciates us is the mobile technology and mobile money banking. We are poor, but everybody all the time, praises us for that great innovation. So because of that, Kenyans might be poor, but they have a phone. Even if it's a feature phone, that one has really equalized us. You can have a smartphone, someone in the village has a feature phone, but the fact that you can talk, it has really equalized the Kenyan population. So how do we make use of that? So we brought them together. We told them our intention was to see how we can rehabilitate these people that had been blacklisted, see how we help them to again achieve positive credit rating, so that in the near future, rather, we mainstream them or we integrate them back to the economy. So the problem that you're addressing there was the shrinking credit customer base. And whenever you have a shrinking credit customer base, is that nobody will buy newspaper, nobody will buy standard newspaper, because the money I used to buy standard newspaper, I will prioritize and buy something else. You see, so the consumption levels also become very low and the economy cannot grow. So in 5 months that Hustler Fund has existed, through the use of technology, we've been able to serve 20 million Kenyans in 5 months. In those 5 months, we've been able to disburse close to 28 billion. In those 5 months, they say Kenyans don't repay. That we see there is 18 billion. We have realized 18 billion in terms of repayment. In those 5 months, today we can stand here and say, indeed, out of the 20 million Kenyans, we have 7 million Kenyans who could be now entrepreneurs, most of them you, who borrow frequently, most of them on daily basis, do their business and repay. So we've been able to protect these Kenyans from digital predators, from predatory lending, from predatory saving. And we are also social entrepreneur, because alongside that we are mindful about sustainability, and we are alive to challenges that make many entrepreneurs go down. For example, challenge number 1 is sickness. Whenever you are sick and you don't have an insurance card, you don't have what, you will sell everything you have. Even if it's project money, you will not think twice about it. If your relative equally sick, or if you lose your loved ones, you will dispose of everything. So what have we done? On that Hustler Fund platform, when you borrow, 5% goes into your savings. Out of that 5%, 70% is to populate your pension. Because we realize that in the informal MSMEs, most of them don't have pay. Actually, majority of Kenyans are not on pension. Only a few who are in formal employment. So that one is to give you social security in future and also to give you financial security. The 30% of your saving, if you borrow from the hustler fund, is for short-term savings. You can invest now in medical insurance, get you a premium. I remember when we had conversation with NHIF, they told us, if you can be saving 17 bob every day, you know, for your medical, premium medical coverage, it will give you access to high quality facilities like Nairobi Hospital, Aga Khan, and the same time there will be last expense, so that if you lose your relative, we don't have to bombard WhatsApp and asking people to contribute. So you can see we're also mindful of the social problem. So we are trying to ensure that there is social security and there is also sustainability. The other project that is being onboarded there is affordable housing. We know a number of MSMEs also suffer when it comes to rent. I know majority of us here, the moment it will hit 20 something of the month, we start getting worried. But again, with so many housing being set up across the country, gives you an opportunity to start saving, slowly take a mortgage. So I can be a boda and take a mortgage. I can be a mama mboga and take a mortgage. So there are those opportunities. So finally, I want to say that's just a model, and it's a model that all of us can rally around. Because whenever we come up with an intervention, we need to ask ourselves, what is the sustainability plan? Is it a one-off event? You enable someone and you don't really care about it. And then just to finalize my remarks, I want to say that I want to invite myself to the issue of voices. But I also want to amend that. And I say it's not about voices, it's about action. Action and effort. So we need to make voices that can be actioned. And for us to realize that, we need to appreciate the urgency of solving problems that are affecting our people. And to the social entrepreneurs, if you ever doubted where there is an idea for your business, and I hope, even as we come up with those business, we are designing them with a business mind. So if you are designing them with a business mind, it has to be a business that can withstand the test of time. So let's work together as we map out opportunities across those value chain, from the farming to the market. There are quite a number of opportunities in that value chain. We will be there, we'll be willing. Visitor can meet, you can invite us to your project. We'll help you, we'll give you business support that can make you grow your idea. And we want to see you rising from micro, small, medium, large, and even multinational companies. We give you access to financing, access to capacity building. And now that we are digital, we can even do training modules, which can be, which can be accessed through digital, through phones. We'll move with you, innovators who have very good plans. Let's see how we can work together, reading from the same script, and also acting together and delivering as one people for one nation and one continent. Thank you so much, and may the good God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Madam Pierce, for those great words. I love the tone, the calmness, and every point sinks. So another round of applause for Madam Pierce. So I'd like to invite Martha Mbuvi to come and give a vote of thanks on behalf of all of us.
Good evening, everyone. Chief guest, Honorable Susan Auma, a Permanent Secretary, State Department, Micro, Small, and Medium Enterprise Development. Mr. Philip Lopokoyiot, CEO, ICEA Lion Group. Dr. Brother Jonas, IST Director, and Vincent Othiambo, all protocol observed. I want to give a vote of thanks to everyone for the success of this ACOSE 6 conference. I want to believe that all of us are witnesses of the great conversations that have taken place. And my take home is that actually we are not in competition, but we are in collaboration. And I think that is very, very important. So let me say my name is Samantha Mbuvi, a PhD student at Tangaza University and a ACOSE Secretariat. I want to appreciate the following. I want to appreciate our chief guest, Honorable Susan Auma. I also want to appreciate our chief guest yesterday, Miss Mary Mwiti, the CEO, Council of Governors. I want to appreciate Mr. Philip Lopokoyiot, CEO, ICEA Lion Group. I want to appreciate the host community, that is Tangaza University. And I want to start by appreciating our acting VC, Father Leo Mwenda, and our DVC, Academics and Student Affairs, Professor Jacinta Adhiambo. I want to appreciate the Dean of Social Sciences, Dr. Idel Wairimu. I want to appreciate the IST Director, Dr. Brother Jonas. I also want to appreciate the Ashoka Regional East Africa Director, Mr. Vincent Odhiambo. I want to appreciate all the speakers, the panelists, and the showcasers. The moderators, you've done a good job. We really appreciate you. We also want to appreciate our MC, Mr. Richard Kaketo and Abigail Ajuma. I also want to appreciate all the delegates, our international delegates from Ethiopia and Congo, our service providers, the photographers, the caterers, and also our coordinating team. And at this point, I would request the coordinating team to just stand from wherever they are. They have done a lot of a lot of work in the background. So kindly, if you're in the room and you're in the ACOSE Secretariat, just stand up and raise up your hand. We just want to appreciate you. Okay. I also want to appreciate the audience. I want to appreciate all of you for those 2 days that you've sat and listened. And I want to believe we've all gone home with something. Lastly but not least, and this I decided to bring at the end, are the partners and the sponsors. This would not have been a success without our partners and sponsors. And allow me to go through the list very fast. We have Faulu Kenya and the Old Mutual Group. We have CISP. We have the Standard Media Group, ICEA Lion Group, ActionAid, Verona Huruma Sacco, Kingdom Bank, Wilken Group, Vilgro Africa, Madison Insurance Group, Trace Media, Weather Life, Making More Health, Wantanara Project, Ashoka's Diversity, Equity and Inclusion Initiative, Ashoka's Spiritually Inspired Change Making, AY&I. Now those are our partners and sponsors. I also want to appreciate the exhibitors. They made our compound look really beautiful. And I want to believe we've interacted with them and probably learned 1 or 2 things. So we have the MBA students, alumni. We have Synapis, Kenya Export and Promotion and Branding Agency, the Nairobi Academy, Lumen Insurance Agency, Alive and Kicking, Kenya Community Development Foundation, Kenya Green World, in Komoko, Afya Center, Evangelization Sisters of Mary Mission, Ginkgo Africa, Philtech Kenya, Wanda B, Somo Africa, World Food Program, Akili Foods Limited, Women's Center for Entrepreneurship, Kenya Community, that one I'm repeating, Kenya and French Red Cross, Austria Red Cross, Zana Africa, World Food Program, Light Up Impact, Mshamba, Africa Collective Textiles, Somo Africa, and Young Scientist Kenya. So I want to appreciate all of you and kindly give yourself a hand clap for the good work for the teams. Thank you, and God bless you all.
Thank you, Martha. I'd like now to invite Sister Victoria from the Congregation of the Incarnate Word. Sister Victoria, are you here? Welcome. We started with a prayer. We will close with a prayer. Sister Victoria is also a PhD student in the Institute for Social Transformation, so we are training transformers.
Let us all rise and have a word of prayer. Almighty, ever-living God, thank you for your presence in these 2 days of our conference. Thank you for the collaboration between Ashoka and Institute of Social Transformation, Tangaza University College. Thank you for the gift of all the other collaborators. And thank you for the inspirations that have been shared here, all for your greater glory. Today, we have learned that in all our activities, in all our transformative changes, we have to have God first. As we leave this room, in all that we have shared, in all that we are intending to do, in all the aspirations that we are going to carry out after this 6th ACOSE conference, let us put God first and let Him lead us so that we may bring to fulfillment all that is ahead of us, all that we need to bring for the greater transformation of this world. Let's pray for our countries and for our continent and for the global world at large, that God's blessings may be upon us as we move together to bring transformative change in our society. And we ask all this through Christ our Lord.
Thank you very much, Sister, for that great prayer.